This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, it is now 6:30 and I will call this town council meeting to order. First thing on the agenda we'll do is the invocation. Is the gentleman here for the invocation? Well, I think our town administrator might do that for us.
He is not.
Yes,
Okay, Bill, it's all you.
Bow your head, please. Father God, we just come to you today just rejoicing that you're God and that you're in charge. In this world, God, you don't give us a plan, but you do give us direction. And we ask for the wisdom to see that direction. We ask for the wisdom to understand your word. And then we ask for the strength, the character to do what it is that you would have us to do. We ask that you bless this town. We ask that you bless this country. And we ask that you bless this council. Through your son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll now entertain any motions relating to the agenda. All right, if we have no motions relating to the agenda, we'll move to the minute approval. And this is the minute approval for April 7th workshop, April 21st budget workshop, and April 26th regular meeting.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve the minutes of April 7th, April 21st, and April 26th of 2022.
Second.
Okay, does anybody have any comments or discussion before we vote on that? All right, Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Holder,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Beckwell, Kinkin,
Yes.
Drake,
Yes.
and myself is yes. So that passed unanimously. And the next thing on the agenda is public comments, and these are public comments relating to agenda items only. Does anybody have any public comments? Okay. Moving right along, we'll go into communications, and the first one is a proclamation. Just one second, let me get it in front of me. I got it right here. So this is Proclamation 22-137. And it says, whereas lupus is an autoimmune disease that can cause severe damage to the tissue and organs in the body, and in some cases death. And whereas it is estimated that at least 1.5 million Americans and 5 million people worldwide suffer from a form of lupus. And whereas more than 16,000 new cases of this disease are reported across the country each year. And whereas while lupus strikes mostly women of childbearing age, men, children, and teenagers also develop this disease. And whereas the most common symptoms of lupus, including extreme fatigue, headaches, painful or swollen joints, anemia, and hair loss, can mimic numerous other diseases. And a lack of awareness of the symptoms and health effects of lupus can lead many people to suffer several years before obtaining a correct diagnosis and medical treatment. Now, therefore, I, Robert D. Hellyer, Mayor of the Town of Surfside Beach, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Lupus Awareness Month and May 10th as Lupus Awareness Day throughout the state, and encourage all South Carolinians to work together to raise awareness and the need to continue research in the causes and the cure of this chronic debilitating disease and offer support to the individuals and family affected. So be it resolved this 10th day of May. And the next thing on the agenda is the presentation on ISO by Chief Clement.
Mayor Hellier, members of council, Mr. Shanahan, members of the community, thank you for a few minutes to give all of you an update on our latest ISO review in the process and to give you a little bit of history of where we are as a department and as a town with our ISO rating. So I thought I would start out and just take a few minutes to make sure that everyone really has an understanding of what ISO is, give a definition, and really give the purpose of why ISO is important. And ISO stands for Insurance Service Office. It is the leading supplier of data and analytics for the property and casualty insurance industry. ISO collects and evaluates information from communities and their structures about their fire suppression capabilities. Data is analyzed using the Fire Service Rating Schedule, the FSRS, and it's given a public protection classification grade. We'll talk more about both of those as I go through the presentation. Insurance companies use the PPC information as part of their decision-making process when they're deciding to write coverage for businesses and what coverage or prices to charge for personal or commercial property insurance. The PPC, or the Public Protection Classifications, ISO's program, evaluates according to a uniform set of criteria, and it incorporates national recognized standards developed through the NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association, and the American Water Works Association. The PPC classifications range from a 1, which is an exemplary fire suppression program, to a 10, which does not meet the ISO minimum criteria. And there are 4 components that are evaluated as the core criteria as they go through the process. And that is needed fire flow, and that's facility locations where water may be needed. It's emergency communications, which is dispatch, and we are dispatched by Horry County Communications here in Surfside Beach for the fire department. And it evaluates the fire department. It looks at our equipment. It looks at our staffing, our training, locations of our fire station, operational considerations, and our community risk reduction programs. It also looks at water supply. So it looks at the hydrant inspection and flow testing programs, alternative water supply, and available water compared to the amount needed to suppress fires up to 3,500 gallons per minute. So a little bit of history and what our current situation is, and really the meat of the presentation so we all understand where we are. ISO initially reviewed the Surfside Beach Fire Department, and it was conducted in 2014 in a PPC classification of 1, which again is the best that you can get, was awarded with an effective date of January the 1st, 2015. ISO conducts a review every 5 years. Surfside Beach Fire Department started the systematic review process in early fall of 2020. On March the 25th, 2022, we received our results and was awarded a retrogression from our previous PPC classification of a 1 to a 2. So we dropped 1 point. Our PPC grade scale is based on 105 points with a PPC score of 1 starting at 90. Our score was an 84.90. So we are 5 points, a little over 5 points away from our 1 designation that we have had the last 5 years. Our primary deficits and some room for improvement is emergency communication, specifically alarm receipt, and that is call answering times. There are NFPA standards that are followed for call answering times. The fire department, it reviews the average number of existing firefighters, company officers, and apparatus available to respond to reported first alarm structure fires. So again, it looks at the number of staffing that we have here in Surfside Beach and the effective firefighting force that is assembled by incoming units from our mutual aid and automatic aid dispatches. And then it looks at our water supply, and that is our inspection and our flow testing program. So that was 3 criterias that we fell short. So what are our next steps? Well, ISO does not immediately implement a PPC classification when you get a retrogression. We have 1 year to either accept the retrogression to a 2 or work toward keeping our 1 score. After much discussion with Mr. Shanahan and our ISO representative, and closely reviewing the scoring from the ISO report, we believe retaining our 1 is worth the effort and will be at very minimal cost as we stand right now. I've responded in writing to ISO advising them of our intent. That letter has been received. Deputy Chief Carter and I have started developing a detailed plan of improvement that has to be submitted by the end of May. Will certainly share that with Mr. Shanahan and can share that with council as we develop that report, and we've already started on that. And we've also reached out to our stakeholders, which is Horry County 911 Communications and Grand Strand Water and Sewer, because they have a part of our rating, as I mentioned in the previous slide. And we have begun the process with them in identifying the improvement areas and how we can increase our points. We've also reached out to multiple insurance companies to clarify the impact of an ISO classification change. We think, Mr. Shanahan and I think that is very important to make sure that council is informed. What does it mean when you have a 1? What does it mean when you have a 2 as it's related to insurance rates? And how are insurance companies looking at ISO now compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago? We think that's important information for the community to know. So that'll be forthcoming as we research that information. And then I believe we also need to have further discussion on fire department deployment model and equipment. We have already had some discussion about that when I submitted for the SAFER grant, and we are waiting for the results from that back. That's probably going to be August, September before we get those results. They're a little behind. But I think that we need to step back and look at what we have. What do we have in our station? How are we running the apparatus? How are we staffing the apparatus? Certainly there is a staffing component to retaining our ISO 1, but we do believe it is worth the effort to try to get those 5 points back. If it was 50, we might be having a different conversation, but it's 5. That doesn't negate the fact that as we progress as a fire department, that we do not look at how we're delivering service and are we delivering it at the most cost efficient way, which includes the apparatus that we have. So as we go through this review process, this year-long process, that'll be things that we're going to look at. I stand ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Other certifications that we have, and I'll just use the CRS. We know through FEMA that CRS, with our rating of 5 that we have, that every single resident who purchases flood insurance in the town of Surfside Beach gets a $145 discount. Okay. And that's the way it works out. And if we had a lower score, they'd get a bigger discount. If we have a higher score, they get a lesser discount.
Yes.
So you're telling me that basically the same thing is with the insurance companies, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. What that looks like, Mayor, I don't know. I do not know the specifics. That if we have a 1, does that mean that our community, business community, residential community, commercial community owners are saving $10 or are they saving $50?
But you've asked that question of the insurance companies and they might get back to you.
Although they have already started to get back with us. Actually, Deputy Chief Carter, I delegated that to him. He has been working on that. We've already heard back from 2 or 3 insurance companies, two insurance companies, and there's more we're going to reach out to. I will tell you in my preliminary research that I have done, the ISO rating is not as profound now as it was many years ago. Now, what that means in the big picture, I can't answer that for you tonight, but I do need to answer that question for certainly this council and the community. But I don't know what that looks like. So that's a great question, and we'll be following up on that because, you know, that affects really the direction that we go. 5 points, we should try to retain the 1.
But we need to find 5 points by May something, right?
By next year.
Well, we need to submit our plan for that by May?
Yes, sir. So what we have done, that's a great question. We've already, with the stakeholders, with Horry County 911 Communications, and with our Grand Strand Water and Sewer, we've already reached out to them. We believe, Deputy Chief Carter and I, as we have reviewed the report that we got, there's some things that are a little bit inconsistent. And we believe that some of the things that they scored us low on, we actually meet. So what we have already done is gathered that information. So we have the information setting over here. I'm going to write the report to ISO, to our representative, and detail exactly the things that we're going to do over this year-long period to try to retain the one. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Chief, what are some examples of the type of things? Because, water flow and so forth, and I remember at one point we had budgeted an additional hydrant, I believe, down on Poplar and
Yes.
3rd or 4th.
Yes.
But then we didn't go forward with that. Is that the type of thing that may be impacted here, that we would add additional hydrants?
That is something that is looked at. The town of Surfside Beach is covered very well through initiatives that happened way before I became the chief.
Mhm.
Hydrant location, number of hydrant sizes is not the issue. Where we lost some points from the water perspective was the flow testing and the hydrant testing. And there were a few other things in there also. It wasn't about water supply coverage. It was about really making sure that the hydrants and everything were tested according to the criteria. But the information that we have and the discussions that we've already had, we believe that we're going to get some points back from that. We believe ISO didn't have all the information. Now, don't hold me to that. They're going to have to go through their process. And I will tell you, when you have a 1, they are very, very strict as they go through the information. Some other things to help answer that question from the water supply piece is really an inspection and documentation and all that program. From an equipment perspective, it is, do we have the right equipment to be able to serve the community in the types of buildings that we have? And do we have enough people as an effective firefighting force in a specific amount of time to get there and do what we need to do? This council has already started to address some of that staffing issue with the SAFER grant. Hopefully we'll get that and we'll move from there. But there's still more work to do with that. Horry County Communications, it is a matter of call process time. And we believe in talking with them that there's some leeway in there too, where we think that we're going to gain some points because we think that they are meeting or very close to meeting what the standard is as far as when you call 911, picking up the telephone in a certain amount of time to get the appropriate dispatch units out on the street.
Very good.
Does the county have the ISO 1? Because that's county dispatch.
Yeah, they do not. I believe they have 2. There are 2 to 3. And I can find out for sure, but I don't remember that off the top of my head. And Mr. Holder, that's an excellent observation because we are dispatched by them. So one of the things that we're looking at is there's a form that gets filled out that Deputy Chief Carter has already sent them, that they're working through filling this out. But however they were scored from the communications perspective, we should almost mirror that because they're dispatching us. So that's a very simplistic way of answering the question. There's a whole lot more nuances to that, but we should mirror that because they dispatch our units.
What other towns have around us? Does most of them have a 1, or do you know?
I do not know that off the top of my head. I could put together a quick chart. I don't believe, I think we're one of the few ones, but for council, it wouldn't take me any time to put together a quick chart of surrounding jurisdictions just to show you where we're at, and I can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor. Mr. Clemens, you
Yes,
feel
sir.
that Surfside's going to stay a 1? That's all I need to know.
I feel that our chances are very, very good.
Okay.
Yes,
Work
sir.
very hard at it, please.
Yes, sir, we will. Yes, sir.
Whatever you need.
Do you have anything, Bill?
I have one last thing.
Go ahead.
And I'm sorry about this, but I just want to throw this out. I put something on the desk today. And I just want to real quick, I'm over my 5 minutes anyway. So if you're over 5, you might as well take the 6, right?
It'll cost you a couple of bucks.
One of the things that we have talked a lot about in the fire department is really, in starting anew is probably not the right thing to say because there was a lot of great things done before I ever got here, but we're starting anew. And part of that is you're going to soon see us in a different style of uniform. The uniforms are going to look different in what I'm wearing and what Deputy Chief Carter's wearing and what the troops are wearing. And you're not going to notice any delineation between a career staff engineer and a volunteer engineer. We're all going to look the same because at the end of the day, the members of the community behind me, they don't care if we're career or volunteer, they care that we're smart and we're good. That's what they care about. So there's going to be no delineation with that. Part of that is, we've updated our mission and our vision and our pillars for the organization. So we have redesigned our patch. So there was the executive leadership team along with volunteers redesigned the patch. This is not a very good picture of what the patch is going to look like because there's some silver in here. It's actually going to be white. But one of the things that we did was we put one of the focal points for Surfside Beach is the pier. So we did put the pier in the patch. So we're pretty excited about that. We'll share that with the community and with all of you once we get it. We're about a month away from getting these patches and really having everybody outfitted and all that, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I just wanted to share that as I had a couple minutes to stand up here. And Mr. Shanahan, thank you for allowing me to do that.
Could you do me a favor and hand this to the people that are here so they can take a look at it too?
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to your progress.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is under the business section is the first reading of ordinance 22-0948, Chapter 9, Motor Vehicles and Traffic.
Yes, sir. An ordinance of the town of Surfside Beach to amend certain sections of Chapter 9, Motor Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of Ordinances of the town of Surfside Beach, South Carolina. And I'm basically just going to talk about the changes. The ordinance is amended as follows. Section 9.8 definitions. Amend this paragraph to include the following new definitions: electronic payment area, pay to park area. Section 9.9 charges. The title of paragraph A shall be amended to read all pay to park areas. Section 9.9 charges paragraph D3 shall be modified to read as follows. Hollywood Drive to Pinewood Drive. Parking in spaces on Surfside Drive between Hollywood Drive and Pinewood Drive are designated as pay to park areas using the identified electronic payment. Section 9.10, method of using failure to deposit U.S. currency, electronic payment, or pay at the pay station. Add a new paragraph as follows and renumber the existing paragraph as D. C, the owner or operator of any vehicle upon entering and pay to park area shall immediately register the vehicle with the electronic collection services and provide a value credit card to be debited as the necessary U.S. currency payment and follow the instructions of the electronic collection services. Section 9.11, parking within marked spaces. Modify this section to read as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person operating any vehicle to stop, stand, or park that vehicle on any of the streets or areas designated as pay to park, except within the limits so provided by this chapter. 9.16, decals and exemptions. Paragraph A shall be amended as follows. The penultimate sentence, which is the second sentence, shall be modified to read, such decal shall allow the vehicle to park free of charge at any designated pay-to-park areas. The final sentence of this section shall be deleted in its entirety. Section 916, decals and exemptions, paragraph A4 shall be modified to read as follows. Beach access parking. Golf carts may park at a beach access crossover point when space is available. No golf cart may be a length or parked in a manner to block access or to impede travel through the area. No golf cart may be parked or operated in any manner that may cause damage to the adjacent properties. All beach access parking is designated as a pay-to-park area using electronic payment. Section 916, decals and exemptions. The first sentence, paragraph A6, shall be modified to read as follows. Upon approval of the town council, parking permits for free parking at the pay-to-park area shall be issued to participants in the event. Section 916, decals and exemptions, paragraph B, shall be modified to read as follows. Golf carts without town issued parking decals. Golf carts without town issued parking decal must pay the applicable fees while parked in any pay-to-park area. Those are the changes.
Are there any questions? I know you got to have some questions, being on the parking committee.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if it belongs here, but somewhere I'd like to see it say that we're going to change the color of the parking stickers each year. Pick 5 colors and each year have, it has to do with enforcement. It's so easy to walk down and see a red sticker and say, all right, that's this year's sticker.
Yes, sir. I believe that would just be a policy that staff will do.
Okay.
We'll make it happen. Starting this year, it'll be a whole brand new color, and I will make sure that they know about it. Sherry won't let me forget.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
the parking between Hollywood and Pinewood, charging for it, I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with the farmer's market. And if we're going to not enforce it at that point in time, how do we get that across if we're not going to? Or are we always going to make them pay to park even during the farmer's market?
Based on your motion at the council meeting, it was to make them park, everybody pays.
If you
I
want
know it
to
was discussed.
suspend enforcement, we would have to issue a separate resolution for that purpose, that time period.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I need a motion for this.
Well, one other thing, this chapter will also be impacted by what we ultimately decide what to do with the right-of-ways.
Yes, ma'am.
That will also impact the vote that was taken to provide a pay-to-park area along Seaside Drive South. So, it's rather premature to start processing, modifications to this chapter when we know in the next couple weeks, there's going to be additional changes. So I would recommend that we defer this until we complete the exercise and get our policy on what we're going to do about the right-of-ways, so that we modify this chapter once, because, the more ordinances we have, the more it costs us to codify them twice a year. So, if we can incorporate all of the changes we need in chapter 9 at one time, because we're only talking a matter of a couple weeks, I think we should just defer this until we have all the changes that we need to make to chapter 9 and process them at one time.
Do I have a second on that?
Well, that's just my comment. That's not an additional motion.
Okay.
Whomever made the motion can amend their motion if they happen to agree with me.
Well, nobody's made a motion as of.
Well, then I'll make a motion to defer first reading of ordinance 22-948, chapter 9, motor vehicles and traffic, until after we have passed at least first reading of the modifications to chapter 12 streets, sidewalks, beaches, and other public places.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Shanahan,
Yes, sir.
can we have chapter 12 along with this in 2 weeks? And chapter 8, bring chapter 8 back so we can finalize that and be done with it?
We should. We've run it through our attorneys. We've talked to everybody, and so
So we could do all three?
I don't see why not.
Okay. If we can do all three, I'll second that.
Well, that needs to be part of the motion. If we're going to do it, that needs to be part of the motion to make sure it gets done.
All right.
Well, I'll amend the motion
All
to
right.
stipulate that it's deferred until the next council meeting on May 24th, I believe is the date.
With chapter 12 and 8.
You second that motion?
Second.
Any discussion on it before we do it? Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Holder,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Kinkin,
Yes.
Drake,
Yes.
and I'm yes too. So that'll be deferred until the May meeting for the first reading. The next thing on here is a decision paper on an RFQ engineering services by Director Adair.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and citizens. This is a procurement requirement that we do every 5 years to select an on-call engineering firm to handle my projects, predominantly my projects, I should say. We put out an RFQ earlier this year, and we opened it on March 25th. We had 3 responses. Of the 3, we scored them, and I made a recommendation to the administrator, and he agrees with me that we should award the next 5 years. And this is not to say that we're locked in to any particular company. If we have a special project, we can bid it out separately, but just for on-call items, our recommendation is to award it to DDC/Bolton Menk.
Do we have any experience with that company?
Yes, yeah, they did all of our in-house
Explain
engineering.
that to us.
They've done the modeling for the North Side Drainage Project. They were our on-call company from approximately 2012 to 2017. Did exemplary work on time, got everything I needed, a lot of field visits, no charge, local. I had nothing but good experiences with them. Unfortunately, in 2017, I was overruled and I was awarded to a different company that we've been using for the last 5 years. So I'm pleased that they submitted a RFQ, a statement of qualifications for this particular opening. And it would be my strong recommendation that we use them for the next 5.
Mr. Mayor, what's the general rate we pay for the engineering services compared to others? I mean, I'm assuming they're higher than what we had in the last contract, just
Yeah,
by the nature of the beast, but.
they also made a schedule of rates for their principals and then their lower staff, and DDC is on par or below the others. But honestly, it's a question of more so than the agreements themselves tend to be less expensive. The projects that are designed with cost savings in mind. So you're not over-engineering a project. There's various reasons why I prefer this outfit.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
John, on the 3 that you picked, how do they rate on the price wise of doing stuff of the 3 that you've picked out here? Have you got them rated in order?
No, I had a tabulation sheet. We had a rating criteria point system, which is not in your package, I don't believe. I
We
did
have the
provide it to
summary.
the administrator. We evaluated criteria, not only price, but our previous experience of some of our neighbors, municipalities with them, their availability to do the work. If you can, it's one thing to sign an agreement with an engineering firm and they can't start doing work for you for 4 months. Whereas you'd like to have it bid out in 4 months, you know, it's problematic. You can't get things done in the fiscal year that they're budgeted. So, you know, you might save a dime today, but you're going to spend $2 later. So it's, there was about 8 different criteria we rated them on. And I felt that with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 criteria, DDC, Bolton, Mank rated the highest.
Thanks.
Based on I have experience with all 3 companies.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
were they involved with the dogwood swash?
No, sir.
That's the reason. That's the reason.
Are there any other questions? Then I need a motion for this.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we award RFQ 2022 PW01 to DDC Engineers / Bolton and Mac.
Second.
Who seconded that?
Michael.
Okay. Any discussion before we vote on that? Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Holder,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Crecklaw,
Yes.
Kinkin,
Yes.
Drake,
Yes.
and I'm yes also. So that did pass. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And the next thing on the agenda is committee appointments for the parking committee.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I had the opportunity to talk to all 3 applicants. And 2 of the applicants have prior parking committee experience. One here in Surfside, one at, I think, Barefoot Landing. All 3 of them are excellent. It would be excellent additions. One is out of town. 2 are in town. One is been here for 19 years. The other 2 years or less. So you have state trooper, an adjuster for Rex with an insurance company, and someone who's worked in marketing and analysis. Like I say, they're all good, but my recommendation is,
Put it in the motion.
okay, I want to make sure I get the names right. Mr. Mayor, I want to make a motion to appoint Everett Goff and Linda Duckworth to fill the 2 positions on the parking committee.
Second.
Okay, any discussion before we vote on that?
My only comment would be, you know, and don't get me wrong, I have absolutely nothing against Ev. I think he's doing a great job with beach services and support of the police department and so forth. But I think it would be worth getting some fresh ideas and some new perspectives into a lot of our committees. That's kind of what we've been trying to focus on. And I personally met Lanny. He lives right down the street and around the corner from me. I think he would be a good addition. So my personal preference would be to appoint Lanny and let Ev focus on, you know, the beach ambassador program.
Any other comment?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
instead of approving both of these in one vote, can we do it separately so we can determine that? And maybe, as Ms. Keating said, one's already on a committee already.
That would probably be a good idea, because if one person doesn't get it, you don't want the whole
Thing to go down to 2.
thing to be turned down.
Right.
Well, that's up to Mr. Kinkin to either amend his motion or,
Well, I'll amend my motion, make a motion to accept Everett Goff on the parking committee. He has a longtime resident, 19 years in Surfside. He's a former trooper. And he was also on the parking committee before prior, probably was there when they got shut down, but I don't know that for a fact.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion on Mr. Goff's nomination? Okay, Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Holder,
Yes.
Keating,
No.
Cracklaw,
Yes.
Kinkin,
Yes.
Drake,
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
And I'm going to vote yes on that too. So there's 5-2.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to nominate Linda Duckworth, the parking committee. Now, she does not live in town, but she has had a history of working in parking committee in North Myrtle Beach and has done strategic planning and marketing with her company in Greensboro. She's lived here for 2 years, less than 2 years. And with her experience, I felt like she would make a good candidate, and I could use another woman on the council or on the committee.
Second.
Okay, any discussion before we vote on that? Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Holder,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Cracklaw,
Yes.
Kinkin,
Yes.
Drake,
Yes.
and I'm yes too. So that's, you can invite her to the next meeting. She's on the committee. And the next thing on the agenda is public comments. And these are public comments for anything, town services and business conducted. Are there any public comments?
Lynn Manchester, 1414B North Ocean Boulevard. I just wanted to thank y'all so much for the proclamation. In 2020, when everything was shut down, Mayor Hellier, Councilman Drake, and Councilman Keaton, they made that happen. And that was a difficult time. They have continued without even asking. They did this, and I just can't thank you enough for doing it for my Barbie. She's struggling right now, so it's interesting that this fell on today, World Lupus Day, and that you did the proclamation today. She went back to her doctor today, and it's just a constant battle with lupus. So that you brought awareness to this, Cindy put it on her page 2 days ago. Sunday, I got a call from a mother that has an adult child similar to our situation that has lupus and had nowhere to go. There's not, like in North Carolina, there's a official Lupus Foundation of America support group. There's not that here in South Carolina. So when you do these things to bring awareness to it, you can't tell how much it does for the family. So I just want to tell you, thank you. And again, I keep listing my reasons, 9,450 million. Then I say, I love Surfside and thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello, it's Tabitha, Chairwoman for Keep Surfside Beach Beautiful. I would just like to invite all of you guys and all of you guys out to our beach sweep on Saturday, the 14th. It's 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on 3rd Avenue North. So we will see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, we're probably going to have an executive session. We're going to be voting on that shortly. So we're going to do town council comments now. So Mr. Stamey.
Thanks for everybody coming out. We'll make it short and sweet, and we'll get out of here maybe. Glad to see you all.
Mr. Holder.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. It's nice to see the weather get warmer and to get more to beach weather. We all need that. And the vacationers are going to be coming soon. And start this Friday is the motorcycle weekend. It starts for 2 weeks now. So we have that to look forward to. So y'all have a good day and thank you.
Ms. Keating.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out and, you know, the responsiveness and comments and questions I get from Facebook and emails are all appreciated. We do have some great things going on. As far as I know, everything's on track, and I'll look to Robert. He was here somewhere. Yeah, that one. We should have our new website up and running June 1st, I think, right? Okay, great. So I look forward to implementing some new programs. I was speaking with the business committee this morning about how we can start getting an email blast out to our brick and mortar businesses to start getting their feedback into town. What can the town do to help them be successful? We've got some ideas for events and initiatives that will help promote our local brick and mortar businesses. So I'm looking forward to getting some of that communication avenue set up. We're looking at doing again I think it was originally called the Passport, Taste of Surfside Passport or Surfside Passport or whatever. Basically a week or so in October, there'll be a promotion. You pay $10 for almost like a little credit card. The $10 goes to Southern Strand Helping Hands, and all of the local businesses that choose to participate in the program provide whatever they've signed up for, whether that's a discount, a buy one, get one, free service on a golf cart, you know, whatever the particular business wants to do. So we're looking at getting that organized again this year. Lee of Benjamin Bagels is instrumental in working on getting the Celebrate Surfside event together again this year, and he will look directly at Tabitha. But we're also looking at expanding it and maybe doubling the participation and getting all of our brick and mortar businesses, not just our few around downtown Surfside. So a lot of good things are starting to happen on the business committee that you know, I hope we will start seeing a change there. And I know we're working hard to get started on our comprehensive plan and getting some overarching goals and objectives for the future of the town. So I think you'll start seeing some exciting things happening. So with that, as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you very much. See you in 2 weeks.
Mr. Cricklaw.
Well, thanks all for coming out and everyone that's listening or watching. I don't have a whole lot to say. I always ask people to get involved, and I'm going to do the same spiel tonight. If you like what we do, tell us so. If you don't like what we do, tell us so. That's it. See you in a couple of weeks.
Mr. Kinkin.
I also want to thank everybody for coming out. Also, the people that are tuning in or listening in. We appreciate you paying attention to what's going on in your town. We're here. If you have comments, especially if you have good comments, we'd love to hear them. But if you have negatives, we're okay with that too. It takes all of us to do this job. I don't really have anything. Just everybody stay safe and see you in 2 weeks.
Mr. Drake.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and tuning in tonight. And I'd like to thank our fire department and police department and public works directors for doing a fantastic job and presenting the stuff and everything for us and taking care of us. And Robert, appreciate the music and the park. It's very good. And look forward to seeing the rest of them. Everybody come on out to the park on Surfside Drive and get to visit your community and also get to hear some good music. And that's about it. We'll see you in about 2 weeks. Thank you.
Well, I can't believe that, you know, a couple of years ago, we used to have the farmer's market in Memorial Park, and that was every Tuesday. And now it's every Tuesday. Now we have that craft market on Thursday. One Saturday a month, we have a farmer's market. Sunday, we have the thing. So 4 days a week, we have something going on in that park. And it's all lit up now and people are having a good time. The community garden looks great. I don't know if everybody's driven by there or whatever, but everybody's planting, everybody's happy and everything's looking good. There are some herbs in the back that from the community garden they put, if you guys want to grab them on the way out, feel free to do that. They brought them here for the residents, if anybody's interested in them. Don't forget the beach sweep. You know, if anybody, if it doesn't take much to participate to help the town. And this is from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. You go there, go with a neighbor, go with a friend, meet friends over there and just walk around for a little while. The worst that can happen is you get some exercise and do good things for the town. So I would appreciate, you'll see me there. So, you know, I go to all of them. So I want to thank everybody for, you know, being here tonight and for helping out, make this town a better town. So with that, thank you. I need a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to convene an executive session in accordance with the FOIA statutes of section 30-4-70A1 for discussion of employment, appointments, compensations, promotions, demotions, discipline, or the release of an employee.
A second.
Okay, any discussion before we do that? Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Holder,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Cracklaw,
Yes.
Kinkin,
Yes.
Drake,
Yes.
and I'm yes also. So with that, we're going to convene and go into executive session. You guys are welcome to wait. And the only problem is you have to